I died alone in a hospital bed after spending 10 years loving a man who never truly chose me. Even as I took my final breath, my husband abandoned me for the woman he claimed was just a friend. But fate gave me something I never expected, a second chance. I woke up 5 years in the past, one day before our wedding. This time I refused to repeat my mistakes. I walked away, rebuilt my life, and found someone who truly valued me. Then my ex saw my new husband, and completely panicked. The day I died, rain hammered against the hospital windows like angry fists. I lay on a hospital bed, barely able to breathe. Every part of my body hurt. The doctors had done everything they could after the accident, but I could see the truth in their eyes. I was running out of time. My phone sat beside me. For a moment I smiled weakly. Ryan would come. He had to come. For 10 years I had given him everything. I paid bills when his business struggled. I worked overtime so he could chase his dreams. I took care of his parents when they were sick. I ignored every cruel word from people who said I wasn't good enough for him. Because I loved him. Because I believed love meant sacrifice. My phone suddenly rang. I grabbed it with trembling fingers. Ryan. His voice came through immediately. Ethan, how are you feeling? I swallowed hard. I'm scared. There was a long silence. Then another voice appeared in the background. A woman's voice. Sophia. My heart sank. Ryan, she said softly, please don't leave me alone tonight. I closed my eyes. Even after all these years, hearing her voice still hurt. She had been Ryan's first love. The woman he never truly forgot. Ryan, I whispered, can you come here? Another silence followed. Then he sighed. Ethan, Sophia is having a hard time. I laughed bitterly. A hard time? Don't start this. I'm in a hospital bed. I know. Then come see me. Sophia spoke again. Ryan, please. His answer came immediately. I'm here. Not to me. To her. My chest tightened. For years, I had watched him choose her over me in small ways. Missed anniversaries. Broken promises. Canceled vacations. Late-night calls. Excuses. I always forgave him. I always waited. I always believed one day he would finally choose me. Now I understood how foolish I had been. Ryan. What? If I die tonight, will you regret it? The line went silent. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded tired. Don't say things like that. Answer me. Another pause. Then Sophia began crying. I need you, she sobbed. Ryan immediately softened. I'm here, Sophia. My vision blurred. Not because of pain. Because my heart was breaking. Then I heard the words that destroyed whatever hope remained inside me. Don't worry, Ryan told her gently. You'll always come first. Always. Call me. First. I stared at the ceiling. 10 years. 10 years of loyalty. 10 years of sacrifice. 10 years of loving someone who never truly loved me back. Suddenly, everything became clear. The doctors rushed into the room. Someone shouted instructions. Machines began making sharp sounds. But their voices seemed far away. All I could hear were Ryan's words. You'll always come first. Not me. Never me. A strange calm settled over me. For the first time in years I stopped fighting. Tears slid down my face. I whispered into the empty room. If I ever get another chance. My voice cracked. I won't choose you again. Darkness swallowed everything. Then, I gasped. My eyes flew open. Sunlight streamed through large windows. Birds chirped outside. No hospital. No machines. No pain. I sat up so fast that my head spun. My hands shook as I looked around. I recognized the room immediately. My bedroom. The apartment Ryan and I once shared. A familiar calendar hung on the wall. My breath stopped. The date. It couldn't be. It was impossible. 5 years earlier. The day before my wedding. I stared at the calendar in disbelief. Then a realization hit me like lightning. I wasn't dead. I had come back. I barely slept after realizing I had returned 5 years into the past. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hospital room. I heard Ryan's voice. You'll always come first. The memory felt as sharp as a knife. My phone suddenly rang. Ryan's name appeared on the screen. In my previous life, seeing his name would have made me smile. Now I felt nothing. I answered. Ethan. Ryan sounded excited. Did you pick up the suit? No. What do you mean no? I didn't go. He laughed. You've been stressed lately. Don't worry. Tomorrow is our big day. Tomorrow. The wedding that destroyed 10 years of my life. We'll talk later, I said. Before he could answer, I ended the call. A few hours later, I received another message. Sophia Bennett had returned from overseas. Earlier than expected. My chest tightened. Not from jealousy. From certainty. I already knew what would happen next. That evening, I attended a small gathering arranged by Ryan's friends. The moment I entered, I saw her. Sophia stood beside Ryan wearing a bright smile. Then I saw something even more familiar. Ryan's face. The way his eyes lit up. The way he looked at her. The way he never looked at me. Sophia noticed me first. Ethan, it's been years. Welcome back. Ryan immediately stepped forward. Sophia just arrived this morning. I heard. Isn't it a surprise? I stared at him. Yes. A painful surprise in my first life. An expected one in this life. Sophia slipped her arm through Ryan's. The movement lasted only a second. Ryan didn't pull away. That told me everything. The old me would have argued. The old me would have cried. The old me would have begged. I simply turned around and left. The next morning I canceled the wedding. The wedding planner sounded shocked. Mr. Carter, are you certain? Completely certain. When the call ended, I felt lighter. An hour later, my brother Marcus arrived. He practically kicked my door open. Ethan, what happened? I canceled it. Why? Because I don't want to marry Ryan. Marcus stared at me. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he sighed. Honestly? I thought you should have done this years ago. I almost laughed. Soon after, my mother arrived. Her eyes were full of worry. Ethan, are you sure? Yes, Mom. Did Ryan hurt you? I hesitated. Then I answered honestly. He never chose me. Her expression fell. I was afraid of that. Before I could respond, furious knocking echoed through the apartment. Ryan. I opened the door. He stormed inside. Ethan, are you insane? No. People are calling me non-stop. That's not my problem. His eyes widened. What happened to you? I finally looked directly at him. For the first time, I'm thinking clearly. Ryan laughed in disbelief. This is about Sophia, isn't it? No. You're jealous. I'm done. You'll calm down. I won't. You always come back. The arrogance in his voice almost made me pity him. Ryan wasn't listening. He still believed I belonged to him. He still believed my love was unconditional. He still believed I would forgive anything. He didn't understand one simple truth. The version of me who loved him had already died. I walked past him and picked up my suitcase. Ryan frowned. What are you doing? Leaving. You'll be back tomorrow? I shook my head. No, Ryan. For the first time, I saw uncertainty flash across his face. I walked to the door. Ethan. I didn't stop. Ethan. I kept walking. Then I left our shared home behind. This time I never looked back. Several months passed after I left Ryan. For the first time in years, my life belonged to me. I moved into a smaller apartment, focused on work, and slowly learned how to exist without constantly worrying about someone else's feelings. One Saturday afternoon, my friend Olivia Reed dragged me to a charity event. You need fresh air, she said. I get fresh air. No. You get coffee and depression. I laughed despite myself. You have a very supportive personality. I know. During the event, Olivia suddenly waved toward someone across the room. Perfect timing. What is? My brother is here. Before I could ask another question, a tall man approached. Alexander, this is Ethan. He offered his hand. It's nice to meet you. His voice was calm, steady. I shook his hand. You too. Olivia smirked. You two can talk. I'm getting food. Olivia, Alexander warned. She disappeared anyway. I expected awkward silence. Instead, Alexander asked, How are you liking the event? It's not as terrible as I expected. He smiled. That's surprisingly high praise. To my surprise, talking to him felt easy. He listened carefully. He never interrupted. When I mentioned liking old bookstores, he immediately asked about my favorite one. Unlike Ryan, he actually paid attention. Over the next few months, our paths crossed often. Coffee shops, charity projects, weekend lunches. Each conversation felt natural. One evening we met after work. The moment I stepped out of my office building, a memory hit me. Ring. Hospital lights. Ryan's voice. You'll always come first. My breathing became uneven. My chest tightened. Suddenly I couldn't move. Ethan. Alexander's voice sounded distant. Ethan, look at me. I tried. I can't breathe. Yes, you can. His tone remained calm. Focus on my voice. I squeezed my eyes shut. You're safe, he said. Nothing is happening right now. Several minutes passed before my breathing finally steadied. Embarrassment flooded through me. Sorry. Don't apologize. I looked away. I hate this. What happened? The question was gentle. Not demanding. Not judgmental. I hesitated. Then Alexander asked something that shattered every wall I had built. Who convinced you that you deserve so little? For a moment I couldn't speak. No one had ever asked me that. Not once. Tears burned my eyes. I spent years loving someone who never chose me. Alexander remained silent. So I kept talking. I told him everything. The broken promises. The constant disappointment. The loneliness. The feeling of never being enough. When I finally finished, he quietly said, "You deserved better." Those 3 words nearly broke me. At the same time, Ryan was beginning to realize I wasn't coming back. According to mutual friends, he kept asking questions about me. One evening, Daniel confronted him. "You keep acting like Ethan belongs to you." Ryan laughed. "Don't be dramatic. Then stop checking his social media every day." "I don't." "You're doing it right now." Ryan had no answer. For the first time, his confidence was cracking. A few days later, Alexander and I sat together after dinner. He looked unusually nervous. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Would you let me take you on an official date?" I blinked. A date? A real one. For the first time in a long while, my heart didn't ache. It felt hopeful. I smiled. "Yes." Alexander smiled back. And somehow, that simple moment changed everything. 1 year later, I stood in front of a large mirror while adjusting my tie. Alexander appeared behind me. "You fixed that tie 3 times. Maybe 4. He smiled. "Nervous?" "A little." "You know I'm still marrying you, right?" I laughed. "That's good to hear." He stepped closer and kissed my forehead. "Nothing is changing that." For a moment, I simply enjoyed the warmth of his presence. My relationship with Alexander felt completely different from what I had experienced before. I never had to beg for attention. I never had to compete with someone else. I never had to wonder where I stood. Trust came naturally between us. Sacrifice wasn't the foundation of our relationship. Respect was. Meanwhile, life had continued moving for Ryan. Through mutual acquaintances, I occasionally heard updates. A few months after I left, he officially started dating Sophia. At first, everything looked perfect. They posted smiling photographs. They attended events together. They acted like they were living a dream. Then reality arrived. One afternoon, Olivia showed me a social media post and laughed. "Looks like trouble." "What happened?" "Apparently Sophia demanded another luxury car." I shook my head. "Seriously?" "Very seriously." The stories became more frequent. Arguments. Financial demands. Public fights. Constant drama. One evening, Ryan finally received an envelope. Inside was my wedding invitation. I wasn't there to witness it, but later I learned exactly what happened. Ryan reportedly stared at the card for several minutes. Sophia noticed immediately. "What is that?" He handed it over. She read it. Then she rolled her eyes. "You should be happy he's finally gone." Ryan didn't answer. Sophia frowned. "Why are you making that face?" "I'm not." "You are." "It doesn't matter." According to Daniel, Ryan spent the rest of the evening unusually quiet. Days passed. He kept rereading the invitation. He checked my social media more frequently. He looked at photographs from events he wasn't part of. Eventually Daniel confronted him. They were sitting together when Daniel finally lost patience. "You need to stop." "Stop what?" "Stop pretending." Ryan looked annoyed. "Pretending about what?" Daniel leaned forward. "You don't miss Ethan because you love him." Ryan froze. "You miss him because he stopped loving you." The words hit harder than Ryan expected. Daniel continued. "For years you assumed he'd always stay. He chose to leave. You gave him reasons." Ryan looked away. For once he didn't argue. For once he couldn't. Deep down he knew Daniel was right. The problem wasn't that I had moved on. The problem was that I had moved on without him. Later that week, I sat beside Alexander while reviewing wedding plans. He squeezed my hand. "Everything okay?" "More than okay." "Any doubts?" I smiled. "Not a single one." And I meant it. For the first time in my life, my future felt clear. Across the city, Ryan stared at my invitation one final time. Then he made a decision. He picked up his phone. "I'm attending the wedding." The moment he said those words, neither of us knew how much that choice would change everything. The morning of my wedding arrived faster than I expected. I stood near a window overlooking the garden venue while trying to calm my nerves. Olivia appeared beside me. You look terrified. I'm getting married. That's usually how weddings work. I laughed. Thanks. That helps. Any regrets? I looked outside. None. And that was the truth. A year ago, I couldn't imagine feeling this peaceful. Now I felt something I had never experienced with Ryan. Certainty. A few minutes later, Alexander entered the room. His smile immediately eased my anxiety. There you are. There I am. Nervous? A little. He took my hand. So am I. You? I'm about to marry the most important person in my life. I felt my face warm. That was smooth. I practiced. Before I could answer, Olivia groaned dramatically. I'm leaving before this gets even more embarrassing. The ceremony began shortly afterward. Friends and family filled the garden. My mother sat in the front row beside Marcus. Both looked happier than I had seen them in years. As guests continued arriving, one familiar figure appeared. Ryan. For a brief moment our eyes met. I immediately noticed the confusion on his face. He had expected something else. Maybe sadness. Maybe hesitation. Maybe the broken version of me he had left behind. Instead I stood tall. Confident. Calm. Happy. For the first time Ryan looked uncertain. Then another movement caught his attention. Alexander stepped beside me. The reaction was immediate. Ryan froze. I understood why. Alexander Reed wasn't just my future husband. He was one of the most respected businessmen in the city. People admired him, trusted him, respected him. As several guests greeted Alexander warmly, Ryan's expression slowly changed. Confusion became disbelief. Disbelief became panic. Alexander casually wrapped an arm around my waist. The gesture felt natural, comforting, protective. Ryan visibly paled. The ceremony had not even started, and he already looked shaken. As guests settled into their seats, Alexander leaned closer. You okay? Perfectly. You seem distracted. I noticed someone. He followed my gaze. His expression remained calm. Ryan. Yes. Alexander gently squeezed my hand. You don't have to worry. I'm not. And surprisingly I wasn't. A year earlier Ryan's presence would have ruined my day. Now it barely affected me. Just before the ceremony began, someone approached me from behind. Ethan. I turned around. Ryan. His voice sounded strained. We need to talk. I considered refusing. Instead I nodded. We stepped into a quiet hallway nearby. For several seconds neither of us spoke. Finally Ryan broke the silence. Ethan. Is this really what you want? I stared at him. The question almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny. Because it came far too late. You never asked me that question when it mattered. His shoulders stiffened. Ethan, He stopped. For once there was no excuse. No defense. No convenient explanation. Then he quietly said the words I once dreamed of hearing. I made a mistake. I remained silent. A huge mistake. Years ago those words would have felt like victory. Instead they felt distant. Like listening to a story that belonged to someone else. The pain was gone. Only the lesson remained. Ryan looked at me desperately. Can you honestly say you're happy? I smiled. Yes. The answer shattered whatever hope remained in his eyes. A wedding coordinator appeared nearby. It's time. I nodded. Then I walked away. Minutes later, I stood across from Alexander beneath the wedding arch. As we exchanged vows, I caught one final glimpse of Ryan in the audience. He wasn't angry. He wasn't jealous. He simply looked devastated. And for the first time, I understood something important. Moving on had always been the real victory. Then I placed the ring on Alexander's finger and chose my future. Several months passed after my wedding. For the first time in either of my lives, peace felt normal. One evening, Alexander and I sat together reviewing a proposal for a project I had been working on. He looked over the document and smiled. This is impressive. You really think so? I wouldn't say it if I didn't. His support still surprised me sometimes. Not because it was unusual. Because I had spent so many years without it. My career steadily improved. New opportunities appeared. New doors opened. At the same time, my relationship with Alexander's family slowly changed. One afternoon, Victor Reed invited me into his office. That alone was shocking. He rarely initiated conversations. Sit down. I obeyed. For several moments, he remained silent. Then he cleared his throat. You make my son happy. I blinked. Thank you. He smiles more now. The words were simple, yet they meant everything. When I left his office, I realized I had finally been accepted. Meanwhile, life was moving in a very different direction for Ryan. The first signs appeared when Sophia's cousin, Grace Bennett, contacted several business partners. Soon afterward, rumors spread everywhere. Then evidence emerged. Financial records, messages, transactions, manipulations. Grace publicly revealed that Sophia had deceived multiple people for years. When the story exploded online, Ryan became trapped in the fallout. One mutual acquaintance later summarized it perfectly. Everything collapsed at once. Ryan discovered that Sophia had lied repeatedly. About money. About relationships. About debts. About almost everything. The consequences were brutal. Clients withdrew support. Investors became cautious. His business suffered. His reputation followed. One rainy evening, Alexander opened our apartment door and frowned. "Someone is here to see you." "Who?" His expression turned serious. "Ryan." I walked to the entrance. For a moment, I barely recognized him. He looked exhausted. Older. Defeated. "Can we talk?" I nodded. A few minutes later, we sat across from each other. The silence stretched between us. Finally, Ryan spoke. "I lost almost everything." I said nothing. "I thought Sophia loved me." His voice sounded hollow. "I was wrong." Again I remained silent. After a long pause, he looked at me. His eyes were filled with regret. "If I had chosen differently..." I immediately stopped him. "No." He froze. "You did choose." The words settled heavily between us. Ryan lowered his head. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. The silence said everything. He had chosen Sophia. Again and again. Just as I had once chosen to stay. Now both choices had consequences. Eventually Ryan stood. "There's really no chance, is there?" I looked toward the living room where Alexander waited. Then I answered honestly. "No." For the first time, Ryan didn't argue. He simply nodded. In that moment, he finally understood. There would never be another chance. 1 year later, I stood on the balcony of our apartment overlooking the city. The light stretched endlessly beneath the night sky. A cool breeze brushed against my face. For a moment, I simply enjoyed the silence. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Alexander stepped onto the balcony carrying 2 cups of coffee. "I had a feeling I'd find you here. You know me too well." He handed me a cup. "I worked hard to earn that privilege." I smiled. "Fair enough." Alexander leaned against the railing beside me. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. The silence felt comfortable. Safe. Nothing like the heavy silence I had once known. Eventually, Alexander glanced toward me. "What are you thinking about?" "Life." "That's a dangerous topic." I laughed softly. "It is." He took a sip of coffee. "Anything specific?" I looked out across the city. "The future." He nodded. "Our future?" "Yes." "What about it?" I thought for a moment. I never expected any of this. The apartment? The career? The peace? The happiness? Alexander smiled. "You earned all of that." "Maybe." "No. Definitely." His confidence made me shake my head. "You always say things like that." "Because they're true." For a long moment, I considered everything that had happened. The pain. The betrayal. The second chance. The choices that followed. Then I quietly said, "I finally understand something." Alexander turned toward me. "What?" "Rebirth was never about revenge." He waited. "It was about giving myself permission to leave." His expression softened. "That sounds right." A few months earlier, I had seen Ryan's name appear briefly in the news. His company still existed, but only barely. He lived quietly now, far away from the life he once imagined. The strange thing was that I felt nothing when I saw the article. No anger. No satisfaction. No resentment. Only closure. The chapter of my life that involved Ryan had ended long ago. Alexander gently bumped his shoulder against mine. "You disappeared into your thoughts again." "Sorry." "Don't apologize." I smiled. Some habits still lingered. Others were gone forever. Alexander set down his coffee. Then he reached for my hand. His fingers intertwined with mine naturally. Comfortably. Like they belonged there. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." He squeezed my hand. "Any regrets?" I looked around me. At the city. At the home we built. At the man standing beside me. Then I smiled. "Only one." Alexander raised an eyebrow. "Just one?" "Just one." "What is it?" I laughed softly. I wish I had chosen myself sooner. For a moment Alexander simply stared at me. Then he smiled. I think you're making up for lost time. Maybe he was right. As I stood beside the man who truly loved me, I realized the journey was finally over. Not because my pain had disappeared, but because it no longer controlled me. At last, I had chosen my own happiness. And this time I never intended to let it go.